Right, live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zambia Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month, and it will stay on the recorded shows.
Hi everyone, good morning from Dallas, Texas. We do appreciate you for joining us again on this wonderful Saturday, September 24th. Remind a friend that the show is live, and for those of you who keep asking us that you don't like to miss any of the broadcasts, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV, or follow us on Facebook, Zambia Blog Talk Radio, so that you don't miss any episodes of our shows. We have a great show for you today, exciting stuff. We'll be talking to one of Zambia's celebrated artists, and he's going to be talking about some wonderful things and a big tour coming up. Mr. K, good afternoon to you. How is Zambia today?
Good afternoon, good morning. Zambia is great, and good, Nathan. How are you doing?
All right. Is it still raining? Is it still cold? Because you guys talked about that cold weather forever.
No, it's getting heated up now.
It's getting heated up. All right. Yeah. Okay. So today we are excited and honored to have one of Zambia's artists join us from the great city and the great nation of Zambia, Mr. Abel Chungu. Abel.
Hey.
Finally, it happened.
Hello.
How are you? Welcome to Zambia Blog Talk Radio.
I'm good. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
All right.
It's a real big honor.
Yeah. You're hanging out with the boys?
I'm hanging out with my kids. They're around here. We actually come to a barbershop, so I said, okay, let me get a space, my own little space somewhere.
We're so honored. We're so honored and excited to have you here. The reason I mentioned that aspect of you hanging out with the kids is because, you see, we look at you guys and the busy schedules that you have. It's rare to hear that you are with your family and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So I just thought we should throw in that little thing over there. So welcome.
Thank you. I think for me, my family is always like a very private thing. Like it's where we rest, because when you're a public figure, people see you, people take you as public property sometimes. So it's always good to have your own personal, private life and just.
Wow.
So my kids in my life are just they don't care that I'm a musician or anything. They just love me as their father.
You are dad.
So, yeah.
You are dad, right? And it ends right
exactly.
there. Okay,
on
that point, Kasulova, on that point, let's begin with this question. Like we said, Abel is featuring on this show for the first time, and let's find out where Mr. Abel comes from. Where did this all start from? So how did your music career begin? Who and what inspired you? It's a loaded question. Like we said before, we started the show. What inspired you? Who inspired you? What got you going? How did mom and dad respond to this?
Well, I think I'd say the person who first inspired me was my elder brother, Damien Msuka. He's also Msuka, and there's another guy called Banti Kirimiri. Banti was one of my youth leaders at church, and my brother Damien was the first person who took me into a studio. I was about, I think, 12, 13 years old, and he would always be very. He encouraged me, but at the same time, I was also very strict on me in terms of, just write better music, do better. It didn't matter how many times people clap for me. He would always like, nah, that didn't sound good. You can do better. And I think it's resonated even in my career. My father and mother were always so proud when you're singing, especially in church. But I think what they never assumed, like, we always had school at the same time while we're doing music. But I don't think even they could have fathomed or imagined that my career would have reached this level. I think my dad died in '09, so that was just after I'd graduated from college, and so it never got an opportunity to see the fruition of the music. But
Mm.
even then, he was always a very supportive person. He saw me, I think, sing at one event when I first came back to Zambia, and it was I remember he cried tears. He's like, and his last words were basically like, I've longed to see this day, of my son doing what he loves to do. And he was always giving suggestions. Of course, him being an economist, and he had studied human rights law, served in government. He'd always give suggestions. No, try this, try that. um, but he was never, always trying to guide your future into a day. He just wanted the best for us. And the same thing with my mother. So it's just all I've ever known is that if you're gonna do something, be the best at what you're doing. And
Exactly.
that was the best teaching that I had, inspiration, which came from my parents.
Talk to
Mhm.
us about what I may call that major breakthrough. When did it become, let me use the word pro, if that will.
Oh, when
when
did
did
I go
that,
pro?
yeah, when did you
Yeah,
go pro?
yeah, yeah.
When did that major breakthrough come? What happened
Oh,
and what was the occasion?
ish. I would be lying if I said I knew when that
Uh-huh.
actually happened, because I think what happens. I think when you're working hard um in music, like you're taking everything hands-on work,
Hmm.
everything is a milestone,
Yes.
and you don't realize how great the impact has become until it actually shows itself.
Hmm.
I think the first time that I realized was when um I think the first time I realized was when I was doing a concert, and the second album, when we launched the second album, and it sold out.
Oh,
It sold
wow.
out. It was 2014. It was two. I remember it was a 2,200 seater, and it sold out. And there were people being turned away, and I couldn't believe it. At that point, I'm
Yeah.
like, wow,
What
people
went through your mind?
actually.
You were like, so you were
Yeah,
like,
I didn't. I know, like I was mind blown at the time, and I didn't. And the thing is, I had a tradition of I would never release music prior to that, so the people would come and hear the album at the event. So it
okay.
wasn't like, yes, so it wasn't really like I didn't have number one songs on radio. It wasn't like I had number one songs. I think the most I had was a song which had reached which had reached uh number, I think it would reach, like, the furthest was number three.
Mm, mm,
So and so it was like it wasn't something that I was expecting at my level, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't know that it created such a breakthrough. And that album was Love Unleashed. It was number one for 9 straight months. 9 straight months
wow. That's
at
a long
Sounds,
time
and it
to be on
was,
the number one slot.
yeah, it was number one for 9 straight months. Um, yeah, yeah. So that was a point where I realized, I said, okay, this is actually, I didn't know people loved it that much. And
Hmm.
so even the following year, it won multiple awards. But at the same time, there was, so, like, life has many things that happen at the same time.
Yes.
Even the same year that I could honestly say was a great year was actually
Hmm.
also one of the hardest years in my life. I'd lost one of my closest friends. I'd gone through depression. So even today, when I write songs like Mamuna Samalila, different things, I fully understand that I don't take fame as something that is, you've reached somewhere. There's always something in the background. There's always a work. There's
Mm.
always something. It's not always as what it seems. So it's always important to be able to take one thing at a time.
Mm.
So I think it's always a process. Yeah.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm long-winded sometimes.
Amazing. I think for people like me that have followed your music, even before Love Unleashed would say Abel had made it then. But
Yeah.
to take you back a bit, you had made mention to say that after completion of college, that's when
hmm
you had a performance where your dad got to listen to you. So
So you're
is
kind of
it that
breaking. What did you say?
you had made mention to say upon return, or rather upon completion of college, you came
hmm
and you came back to Zambia and then you played music and your dad had
Yeah.
an opportunity to listen to you, right?
hmm
So is it even music? Is it music that you pursued in college?
No, 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 no. I pursued theology. I did IT and then I pursued theology. So and what I majored was in I focused more on youth culture, youth relations, and so I also came back to serve at my church as a youth director. But I always just kind of knew that my heart and my music was always going to take me outside, and I always had a passion for street evangelism, reaching people where they were, not to market or create myself into more of a church-based artist, but more of a person who's out there taking and pushing the message to the rest of the world. And that's what my heart and passion was always about. Yeah.
Okay. So it's a blend of IT, theology, and music. Amazing.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then, how's been your musical journey since then? How do you explain your experience?
Oh, I mean, when you hear, sometimes as musicians we get especially if you're me, you enjoy the process of creating a
Hmm.
lot. I mean, I spend a lot of time in studio creating music. The musical journey has been really good. I can say and I guess I realize it when I hear the feedback from people where
Mm.
people are telling you, "Oh, your music is that." This is like, "Oh, for real, wow." But when you were writing the song, you wanted that response. You wanted it to help people. You wanted you wanted to change lives. You wanted it to touch people from all aspects. But when it actually does, it's still a very shocking thing. And sometimes you get surprised when people still meet you, or they scream, or you realize, oh wow, that the music has made an impact. And my first album was released in 2012. It's called
Hmm.
Worship of the Love Revolutionary. Then my second album was 2014, Love Unleashed. Then we released the third project in 2018 called Love Revolution. We did a deluxe in 2015 as well, which has classes like Mudibakulu and Chanipeza. So it's been a great thing. And in 2018, I'd actually chosen to retire. I'd made all these announcements. I said, I'm done.
Why? 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 What led to that?
Yeah, yes. I was tired. I was tired, but also at the same time was so the album, the last album I did
Hmm.
was a revelation that came to me in 2008. So by 2018 when I released it, it had been 10 years of pursuing to create this whole entire picture that took me 10 years to create.
Oh wow.
So the whole concept was a 10-year concept that started with the first album being an introduction to God. The second album was God's presence upon man, and then now man's ability to be able to take the gospel or the message into people's ordinary daily lives, which was Love Revolution. So it was
Hmm.
10 years. So by the time I was reaching at, and sometimes when you overthink, or I not overthink, but even when something is intricate, people like simplicity. And it just, and also at the same time, the music industry is not always the nicest place. You know what I'm saying? I think people, even just social media wise,
Hmm.
people are more
Hmm.
driven by people catch more attention through scandals or different things like that. And when you're not that kind of person who pursues that, you realize at the end of the day that people's attention span is often triggered by the smallest things rather than we don't celebrate art. And I think this is one thing we'll get to our topic for. But then a friend of mine, funny enough, I was actually Dr. Nervous Mumba's son. Shout out to Mikhail. He sent me a video clip which
Hmm.
came in, and there's someone in the back seat, and one of my songs is playing. and someone's in the backseat of a car, and they're asking the driver. They said, "You love Abel Chungu?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I love Abel Chungu." And I could tell like this is definitely not Zambia. And he says, and the driver looks, is a brown person, and the guy says, "Do you know where this is?" I'm like, "No, where is it?" He says, "That's Iraq." He says, "That's the taxi driver in Iraq bumping your music."
Whoa.
And the guy who's a missionary sent that video clip. He says, "I cannot believe it. I'm in Iraq and there's a taxi driver playing Abel's music."
Amazing.
And so at the end of the day, so I'm being father at the same time.
That's fine. That's fine.
So
to that, just a little thing there about being a father. At times when you're preaching and then a kid cries and everybody goes, you've seen that. You know what I always tell people? It's just a child. Being a child.
It is.
Like you said, kids don't care. You're a celebrity. As far as they are concerned, you are done.
It's
so
true.
just
I
go
know
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, so I said, okay, if I'm gonna do something. So at the end of the day, what we ended up doing was, we said, okay, if we're gonna do a project, we have to do it differently than we've ever done it before. But one of the things I was also unhappy with was also the state of the Zambian music industry. So what I decided, I stood for elections that year to be chairman of the board for the Zambian Music Copyright Society, and I ended up winning, and I became the youngest chairman of the board of the Zambian Music Copyright Society. I took over from Honorable Hamkale, who was Minister of Southern Province at the time. So for the last 3 years, I was serving in that position. It's a 3-year term, and you can choose to stand again. So I chose not to stand again. And but because I wanted now to get focused on the music. And so, but the entire board, which is just, I think there was so much trust. We built a lot of confidence in people. The entire board was reelected. The person who was serving as my vice, she became the chairman of the board. By the time we were leaving, we had recorded a 24% growth in terms of collection. And also, and this was during COVID. And at the same time as well, it really helped us in a way to maybe understand how much the music industry needed to be able to change. And but so now that's when I said, okay, now let me at least give attention to myself and my own work. And I told everybody, I said, I was glad to have served 3 years of my life and not, I put out singles, but I couldn't put out an album. I told myself. So I said, okay, now I can focus on myself. So it's been, I think I've recorded close to 40 songs in the studio during that period of time. So now we're so that's been the musical journey in a bit.
Amazing. Yeah. Before we go on here, I think let's play this song, and then you can sort of, before we go in talking about why Zambian musicians are underrepresented and your upcoming tour to the US. Everybody in the US, we need to get ready. Abel is going to be in town, and we need to show up big numbers.
No problem.
I think that's enough. That's provocative enough to get people to show up wherever you are coming to the US. So, what made you write that song? Abel, what made you?
Here.
Okay, now we can you hear me now? All right, everybody. Well, Stable is.
I don't know if you can hear me. I seem to have an
Yes.
audio problem.
I can hear you. We can hear you, but you can't hear us.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe what you do is log off and log back in again. I hope.
Can you hear me?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yes,
You can
yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I
Can
can't
you hear
hear
me?
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Kasulova,
Sorry,
you
let-
have his number. Can you just communicate by text and stuff like that on that end? All right, everybody.
Okay.
We talking to Abel Chungu. He's actually coming to the US on a major tour, and we want to encourage the Zambian community wherever we are, whether it's in California. He's going to tell us where the tour is going to take place and all the places and all those things where they'll be happening. Let's try this again. Okay, the message went through, Mr. K?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, I think maybe. Okay, now he is frozen. Yeah, let's try to get him back and see all those things. Hi, everybody. Thanks, our leader there, Miss Chloe. I can't wait to see you in Dallas in, is it 3 weeks time? Okay. Hi, Abel.
We're good. Hi. I don't know.
Okay,
My
all
audio
right.
just went off for a second. I don't know why. But
It
yeah, I
happens.
had to get it back
Technology
on.
thing. You are a theologian, IT person. You know how
I
these
was,
things
I
work.
I was like, I would say we grew up on ZNBC, so we were cool.
So, what made you write that song?
Oof, man. I think we were doing a project as a united group of artists. And so then one day I find myself at KB's studio. So KB was this producer who was producing for everybody. I'd never worked with KB in my life. I'd never really attempted that sound. And so while I'm at his studio, I say, hey, play me some beats. And then he plays me an instrumental, and immediately the chorus, I start singing the chorus, just want any extra time, put everything on the line.
Just
Like
like that.
immediately the chorus comes to me, and I said, you know what? And he's like, that sounds really nice. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write to this. And about a day later, I went to his studio. There was another artist who was there. We're supposed to feature him. I told him, all right, go and write, I'll write, and then let's meet up. So when I got to the studio, I found I was the only one. So I said, okay, let me just write the second verse. And I finished the second verse right there in the studio, and we recorded it. And KB's like, this song is going to be massive. I'm like, I don't know. I've never really tried this style before. And I think the first time when I realized it was going to be big is when I did a snippet of it. And I remember one of the first people who responded was Slap D. And he's like, this song is amazing. Like, I can't wait to hear it. And then when it dropped, it was probably like the biggest, most streamed song that I've ever had. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. That's good. Amazing how it's as you just said, play me a sound and it just boom.
No, we grew up like that. My brother used to make me freestyle a lot. Like we would just, if you hear it song, like, okay, give us a few words. Okay, just the 4 words, and then we just immediately, then the band creates a melody that you don't hear, and immediately right then and there on the spot you have to make a song.
Yeah.
So we grew up like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Excellent.
Okay. We're now getting to the tour at hand, obviously. How would you obviously there's been growth when we look at the Zambian music industry, if we look at the past musicians, and the present. How would you rate the Zambian music industry now in comparison to an international market or the international scene?
Oh, we're still growing. You know, we've got a long way to go. Um, I just wish that it would happen now. You know what I'm saying? But I feel there's certain things, I guess, that the rest of the world is doing now that we might only see in a few years from now. But if you take Zambia music as a whole, um, I think we've made so many strides. Um, there's Zambian music which is being played in other countries. I mean, there's when I go to a place like Uganda, I mean, we pack out there. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow.
I've seen 22,000 people show up, I've seen 8,000 people show up to concerts. Uh, so that's huge. We went to Malawi, me, Pompey, and Esther in December. We sold out, packed out. So there's other countries where we tap into where it's big. Um, so Zambian music has been making an impact. You know, you can ask different people like Roberto, Sampa the Great. I think she's on tour with Billie Eilish. Then there's, you know, Sakala Brothers. You know, they've toured Europe. Just when you see even Moses Sakala on stage, my goodness, that man is amazing. Like he's just the presence that he holds when he's on stage is unlike anything that you've seen. When you see that Rajagari Chanda from the Great Witch is touring right
Wow.
now,
He's
you
still
know,
touring?
he's touring. Oh yeah, the Great Witch. They'll be
Yeah.
in Boston. They'll be in Boston on the 12th of October. He's got a show in Boston.
There
Like,
you go.
yeah, he's lit. The witch is like a legit. He's the lead, and he's traveling with these guys, going around and taking the music to the fan base. And what's crazy about it, and I think we'll get to that, is who the fan base is. That
Wow.
our most successful Zambian artists, if we're talking about international presence, it's not because of local fan base. And that's something to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not because of local fan base. It's not because of even international Zambian presence. It's foreign presence. So which brings back the question. What do we hold? What do we value about ourselves?
There you go.
What do we value about our own personal art? I grew up seeing. I've known Bajagari Chana for years, ever since I was a teenager.
Yeah, I mean,
But I remember
Jagari
when
Chanda is probably one of the living legends,
yes,
including I call him Ankolari Maluma, people like
yeah,
that.
I'm
Ricky
sure you.
Longa.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd know the closeness between our family and Mr. Chanda,
Yes.
his family. You know, but to think that it took foreign people to come and recognize and say, wait, this is there's something about this Zamrock. I would go to vinyl stores even in South Africa, and a lot of white guys, they like to buy vinyl, you know, these old records.
Yes.
And I'm sitting in a vinyl store and I'm trying to tell them about my collection because my dad had left us a collection of a lot of stuff. I'm talking about Beatles and all these classical guys, and all they wanted to know is like, do you have Zamrock?
There you go.
Because that is selling. Like, that is money. I said, Zamrock is money. They're like, Zamrock is money right now.
Abel,
And that was like a couple of years
let
ago.
me cut
And
you
now,
short there before I lose this train of thought. What do we need to do? Why don't we get it as Zambians? What do we need to do?
Oh, it's about, it's like I said, it's about value. You know what I'm saying? In other countries, I mean, they don't mind creating a hero of someone who's alive. They don't mind giving honor to somebody who's alive. The problem, like I said, even if you go online right now and you try to search most followed Zambians, it's not because, even if it's a musician, they're not followed because of music. They're not. So we don't reward work. We don't reward hard work. We don't reward something, you know what I'm saying, quality. I was telling somebody about the TikTok algorithm, right? That you see sometimes. So the TikTok algorithm in China is very different from the one that's in every other country. So the TikTok, if you watch TikTok, a lot of our kids are dancing, singing, cracking jokes. Good. China's algorithm rewards by the kids who are inventors, doing something that's looking creative, right? So those are the kids who get the most likes. And I often believe a human being's greatest desire is to feel accepted. So when somebody is seeing that somebody who's scandalous is the most followed person, what the youth who desire acceptance more than anything else will see is that is the path to success.
Unfortunately.
That is success. And the problem is when the path to success is not a clear, has no blueprint, there's so many ways for loopholes. You can be deceived. You see, if I have a successful career, I need to be able to give you a blueprint to it. If somebody comes and says, okay, well, how did you get to it? I can tell them, oh, this is how much recording is, this is how much studio time I had to do, this is what happens, this is promotional things, this is what you need, whether you're pushing online, this is what sponsors are like. I can give you a blueprint. Now, if someone who's successful cannot give you a blueprint they can pass on, that's dangerous, right? But we want something without a blueprint that we can be able to pass on, and we celebrate that. Now, it's in no way to shame and anyone. I mean, it's a small industry. If everyone is making their money, people are trying to change their lives, and I appreciate that. But the value there in the foreign aspect, there seems to be a value for everything, right? So you understand that the value of this is important. The value of that is important, and everything is placed as a very important aspect. So you cannot. But in this generation, we had said, oh, because this music is happening, we can't value Zamrock.
Wow.
So something else, because you want to value something else, you have to degrade another thing, which should not be the possibility. So I genuinely, honestly feel like until we get to that place, sorry, give me a sec.
God.
So I think
now before you continue, this topic right here, this is where I need to throw in this. You see the flyer I have here of you and Miss Constance here. This is where Miss Constance was supposed to come. Okay? She's not able to be here, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah, I understand.
I know. Just something came up. She couldn't be here. But these are the things Miss Constance and I were talking about behind the scenes. Now I'm like, Miss Constance, you should have been here, man.
No, trust me. We her and I've had great conversations about this, and I think that's one of the reasons why she jumped on to be very supportive. Because we met at the Diaspora Conference, and I mean, even in my capacity as I've served for ZAMCOP chairman, I've been talking about this for years. You know,
she's an amazing lady.
She's an amazing lady. I literally paid a production company to do an interview of her because I said, this woman, I'm like, Constance, do you have any documentation or documentary about your written? And she says, no. I said, so when she was around, I said, listen, I told a couple of guys, I said, can you please shoot an interview of this woman? So we have an interview that will eventually launch of Constance, because she is definitely amazing. She's out of this world.
Has that interview played, or when is it going to be played?
No, not yet. We're just finalizing the final edits, but we will be releasing it within time.
Please let me know when it comes out. You need to send me a link, you know. And we need to get Miss Constance will come back here for a special time. So before we talk about the tour, it's amazing how time flies. I'm getting excited here, forgive me. So you see, Miss Patricia is saying very true. We should start rewarding hard work, especially the upcoming, okay? And then Matilda is saying, what can we do to change it? Excuse me. What can we do to change the scenario? What should we do?
Well, I think, where people have so we one of the topics I was telling Constance with, right, was I was saying, so for example, Zambian music, some of my music plays in clubs, but some of it doesn't. Of course, being, there's sometimes when you have something with a beat. But I'll give you an example of what Nigerians would do. Nigerians would go to a place in UK or in South Africa and demand and say, we're not going to spend any money in this place until you play Nigerian music. Now, these weren't the artists. These were just Nigerians who had money.
Wow.
And money talks.
Of course.
Right? So when the Nigerians with money, now, of course, people like to look at who's got the money. They'll look at the VIP section. They'll say, hey, what's happening there? And when they see that, they'll say, oh, you know what? Yeah, those guys are now going to dictate. Look at just even the way they present themselves, even in church, in worship. They present themselves with a lot of power, and such that even a lot of ministry here, whether it mimics Nigerians. Now, what am I trying to get to? Is the value that we have on ourselves in Zambia is what's going to reflect on everything else. She's asking, one of the things I posted just the other day was, I've done a lot of events. And every time I get off stage, there is always the, oh, Abel, you're international. Oh, Abel, you are, wow, that was just, wow, like, what you did there was just, wow, like, I never thought a Zambian. And in fact, the first time I released my project, I didn't show my face. I never intended to show my face. But I got tired of people saying that they thought my music was a foreign guy. They thought the people who came up with rumors, no, he's an American guy, Shani. So I said, oh, I guess people need to know that there's a Zambian who's doing this music. But then as time goes on, then there was the concept, of course, which I went through, where people say, oh no, but his music, Sungu, Shanshan. But I said to myself, but it was Zambians. Even if I walk in the street and ask you who R. Kelly is, you all know it. You listen to his music. If I say who James Brown is, you listen to his music. If you listen to Michael Jackson, you listen to his music. If I ask you about Celine Dion, everywhere you're playing. If I say Adele, you say. But what does that mean? It generally means it's not that I'm a Zambian who's singing in English sometimes. It was just the idea that we didn't think we're good enough to sing in English. So anytime a Zambian takes up, even sings in English, it was an idea that it was not us. You know what I'm saying? It's not that, but we play that music. So I tell people, like, if you enjoy something, oh man, give it even more credit when it's Zambian. That a Zambian managed to break into something. I said, because Zambian music is not just going to be Zambian music in the sense that it should sound a specific way. Zambian music is going to be Zambian music because it's done by a Zambian.
Yes.
I don't care if a Zambian musician does country music. To me, that's a Zambian music. I'm like, I want to be able to see a Zambian musician take over the country music scene in America. You know what I'm saying? And raise that Zambian flag high. If they're an opera singer, I'm not going to say, oh no, but they should sing it with traditional Zambian songs. Maybe the time will come. But if there's a Zambian person who's taking the stage in Milan and Italy, let us be able to celebrate that and enjoy that. And so at the end of the day, when we as Zambians begin to celebrate each other's lives and we begin to realize that there's so many people who are skilled, which brings me back down to what I was talking about. I've done so many concerts and people hype me up and say things. But what would happen here even still happens. Yes. And I had a conversation with another big artist here, and he says, sponsors or even organizers for events will call you up as a Zambian artist and they'll say, oh, or it's always someone that you know. Oh, no, please, we're doing this event. We don't have a budget, but can you please wait? It's going to be a big concert. And this is like a big concert. Oh, what? No, I stressed on. But the main act will be a foreign act. And the foreign act will come and they'll have all these demands. Remember, they have a writer, they have a tech writer, their music. And remember, and their instruments are not to be touched. You don't share the same instruments. Wow. You have your instruments, they have their instruments. So which means you're flying in the instruments from South Africa, from Zimbabwe. You're giving them the opportunity to do the show that they want to do. They're going to, if they're demanding how they're going to do their show. You as a Zambian artist are often told to compromise on how you're doing your performance or to undercut your budget. And that happens consistently. I can tell you literally every single festival event does that. So now the question is, how then do I see a Zambian artist to the fullest of their ability?
Exactly. Right? That's a big question.
How do I see it?
How do we change that narrative?
Just recently, Mumpy spoke up where she was accused of, oh, how could she be doing backtrack at another when these Nigerian? No, but when you brought the Nigerian, you as the sponsor, you were willing to give them a list of all the alcohols they want. You could lead them to pay for their hotel room. You're willing to do it. But the moment you brought in to bring your Zambian artists, you tell them that you don't have a budget, that you want them to perform backtrack.
Wow.
So now, because hey, they have to get paid, they'll undercut, they'll work, they'll still, crowd will get excited, but you never get to see the full extent of what your artist can do. And to the fullest, and I mean the fullest, because when I see these events, when I see what these guys come with, the kind of technical things that they need and whatnot, even if you request for one of those things, rarely, I mean, you're talking about events which are sponsored by banks, you're talking about even some of the richest company. So it comes back down to value. It comes back down to, do we value these? And some of these events, they're so popular that people will still show up. Yeah. People will still show up for the event. It's not even about who we're bringing as a headliner. No, people will still show up. I remember one time there was one event we did, which was all the way in Livingston at the time. We were doing that event. WizKid was in Lusaka. We had 12,000 people at that event. WizKid had 2,000 people, and he was in Lusaka. People drove to that event because the popularity and the name of that event was so big that people just genuinely attract. So I even had a discussion with the marketing manager for it one time, and I said, why don't you just invest a lot of money into the stage, onto the acts? I said, pay the Zambian artists their money. But you know what you should do? I said, just bring in a production manager. Somebody who's going to say, you know what? We're going to dress the artist. It's going to be on us. The lights are going to be whatever. Even if the theatrics, even if we're going to have people who are doing front somersaults and coming from the roof, we want people to get a show and see Zambian acts in a way they've never seen them before. Why don't we do something like that? And that, unfortunately, they're doing another event and it's not the same. And an artist is complaining me the same. They're bringing a foreign act. They're paying them. When I saw the rider for that, just the price of that artist to perform is about 500,000. They'll announce very soon, probably. There's about 500,000 US dollars. But they're trying to negotiate down the Zambian artist.
Wow.
And just even the rider of that artist, they need to come on a private jet. And their equipment needs to be on a private jet.
On the private jet.
Do you understand? Jet. Yeah, their equipment needs to be on a private jet. Wow. And this is not even the demands that they have when they come here. Now, if you're willing to pay all of that money, what if you were the first sponsor to do something to put a Zambian artist in a way that people have never seen them before?
Yeah.
And this is something that we have to get to. The value. It comes down to the value.
How much I tell people, we value our
exactly. I mean, I'm now telling artists. Sometimes I tell artists who have got unique music, and they say, "Nah, people are not appreciating." I just say, "Have you thought about going outside?" I just said, "Have you thought about going outside? Think about maybe some guys in Sweden will enjoy your music. Maybe some guys in what? Maybe some guys in and the artists that do that, they make a breakthrough. They'll make the breakthrough." And this is not just the mentality locally. Sometimes I hear that sometimes the mentality is even outside, even when Zambians are abroad, that we need to be more united as a community in what we are able to do for each other, that at the end of the day, we break ground.
That's true.
Because most Zambians I know who are successful, they're successful within other circles. Most, not all, but within other circles, is because they've created networks within other circles, whether the Nigerian community or an Ethiopian community or an American community or some way. But I'm just like, I would love to see. But what I saw at the diaspora conference was, I realized there's so many successful Zambians, and I'd love to see a network of that ones that just push open the door for, oh, there's a Zambian here, they're good at what they do. Oh, I'm pushing a door for them.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to talk about the upcoming tour in the 12, 15 minutes coming up. Like I said at the beginning of the show, those of you always say you don't want to miss any of our shows, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV. The information is scrolling at the bottom.
Media Group 10th Annual Festival with live performance by Nigeria's music superstar Flavor, the Ijele One of Africa. Also opening for Flavor will be Zambian music star Abel Chungu. This event will take place on October 15, 2022 at 7 p.m. with cocktail hour beginning at 6 p.m. at the Carson Civic Center, 801 East Carson Street, Carson, California, 90746. This dinner event will also feature awards to achievers in our community and fashion runway. Tickets on sale on Eventbrite and Zelle. You cannot afford to miss this event of the year.
Amazing. So now, coming back to the tour, to the US tour, what prompted the tour? How did the idea come about, and how did it all just move from one thing to the next?
I think generally I told myself when I started working on this new album, I always said, I want to go to the US when I'm done with this album. I mean, everyone told me, even just some of the promoters in other countries, they're like, oh, United States is very hard to break through. It's very hard to push through. And I said, no, I really want to do it. And I told people, like, I'm going to go in June. And so what was funny was June started getting close. And I said, you know what? Even if I have to sell my vehicle and black, because I was trying to budget. I tried to say, okay, what's it going to cost? And just so happened that somebody calls me, good friend, Alex Kalambate calls me and says, hey, he lives in Minnesota. He's like, hey, my daughter's getting married. Do you want to come to do a wedding? And I said, yeah, would. I said, but can I stay a bit longer? Because I just want to kind of see what's out there. And he says, okay, sure. And I stayed a bit longer, and I visited Sacramento, Oklahoma. And when I was there, we did a backyard concert in Sacramento. I began a discussion with a gentleman called Jumbe, and we talked about, he's like, listen, I really wanted to bring, because we had initially talked about a US tour in 2023, but he's like, dude, I didn't know you were this good. You had people crying, and it was just you and your guitar. Like, I've never seen people cry at a bed. I'm like, hey, how would people go from crying to dancing to, I don't know, man, like he had never seen me live. So I said, okay. And he says, let's do a tour. And I said, that's been on my heart. So when I came back here, we started the discussion, we started planning for it. And then I met Constance at the Diaspora Conference. Of course, we sat on the same table. On Frida Brazo introduced us. And I asked her, I said, oh, what do you do? And she laughed. And then when she started explaining, I said, my goodness, whoa. I was like, you would do a lot. And so we started talking about each other's visions. And by the time we were done, it just became like, I told him, like, listen, I'm coming out. One of the places I've always wanted to be at is LA and see what it's like. And also, so I reached out to a lot of different people. And so the discussion started, and with different events, people started calling me. And so that's how we ended up here. And it's not just music. I've also, for those who know, I won best comedian at the Ngoma. I was the first recipient ever of the best comedian for the Ngoma Awards in 2019, where they opened the category.
Comedian?
So I also do comedy. So I'll be doing comedy on the 19th of October in Los Angeles. So there's some people there I connected with, and I'm gonna get an opportunity to do some comedy. So I'm one who just likes to use all my talents and gifts, and see what God wants to see when they're used to the fullest. Yeah.
So apart from Los Angeles, I'm being bombarded by a lot of questions here behind the scenes to say,
Yes.
please break down your itinerary to the US.
Oh,
You
well,
are
so
okay.
far,
So Los
so
Angeles with
far.
that event,
So yes, we've
and
got
then a
okay, we've
comedy
got
show in
LA.
LA. Where
Yes,
else are you going?
life.
Are you
It's on
coming?
Sun.
Are
Yeah,
you
we'll
coming to
post.
Texas?
I was hoping to, but I actually reached out to the Texas people. They haven't gotten back to me yet. So because so on the 29th of October I'll be doing an event in Baltimore. And
Okay.
unfortunately, I found out that that's the date the Zambian independence huge party is happening. And I felt so bad because I had really, really tried to get on that roster and have a discussion, but the feedback, I don't know, maybe the channels I was using were not fast enough. So I guess other people snatched me up and they got me for the 29th in Baltimore. And but I tried reaching out. I said, okay, maybe we can do the 28th for you because it's a 2-night event. But I will be, and so the 15th, I will be in Los Angeles for the Life and
Okay.
Times. And so if more Zambians can buy tickets, because I think we're outnumbered, there's like close to 1,000 people, and majority of them are Nigerians. So,
Of course.
so
So
and
Zambians in that area,
yeah,
LA, even those are not in LA, let's
I
go there and
know,
buy the
and
tickets.
exactly. And then, so then after that, on the 19th of October, I'll still be in LA for a comedy
Okay.
show.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, the next event will be on the 29th, which will be in Maryland. And then we finish off with a revival in Nashville. There's a church out in Nashville. Good pastor, Pastor Rob Thomas, who I met when I was here, and he invited me to come to his church in Nashville.
Okay.
Then after that, immediately we're going to Dubai.
Oh,
There's some
wow.
Zambians. Yeah, there's some Zambians I met in Dubai who want me to do a tour there. So I'll be there for about 2 to 3 weeks before I go over to another continent. Once I get a visa for that continent, I'll be able to share. But we're in that process. But otherwise, it's I'm back home in December. But it's gonna be a busy time.
That's a long tour to be away from home. I think that's
I
why
know.
you are hanging out with the boys right now.
I'm telling you, I
Um,
need to bring back gifts.
yeah, of course you
Yeah.
need to. Okay, Abel, you make us proud. We will show up. I support Zambian music and artists. You are right. We need to support our own music to
Thank
grow.
you.
That's from Miss Chanda Mutale. And my sisters at the Insaka Talk Show. They say it's high time Zambian artists appreciating their own sons and daughters of the soil. We need to stop elevating foreign musicians at the expense of our own artists. That's for my sisters at the Insaka Talk Show. And one more comment here before we play the last song and go. This is the person you were supposed to be talking to if you wanted to play at the big party in the Independence Party. I always feel like those annual Stanbic concerts need to promote Zambian artists, not the foreign ones. Who does that? That's Miss Clotilda. She's the top lady at the what you Oza what I'll connect you to her. I'll connect you to
Okay.
her. Uh-huh.
Appreciate it.
You've already answered Nelly's question. Are you coming to Texas? We can work on that. And another big dog here, Jimmy, says, let's do one in Vegas. What do you
Oh,
think?
Vegas. I would love to visit Vegas. I would love to do Vegas. I mean, it's one of those things, one of those places I've always wanted a chance to visit.
Uh-huh.
I love cities with lots of lights, which are lively because
City.
here you don't get a lot of that here. But hey,
You need to go to Vegas, my friend. You need to go to
yes,
Vegas.
yeah.
So let's finish this by if somebody wants to get in touch with you or they want, so that you don't go through. I think one of the things is also what's the word, Kasulva? Management, administration,
Yeah,
business. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
communication. If somebody wants to get in touch with you and they want to arrange a tour, what should they do?
I think on all my social platforms, there's a phone number and there is an email address. Whether you
Mm-hmm.
follow me on Instagram, whether you follow me on Twitter, there's all the managerial lines are there. But for anyone who needs it, my manager's line is Kazya, KAZYAMN at gmail.com. That's
Okay.
KAZYAMN at gmail.com. And the same goes for if you reach out to me on any social platform. Just look for the numbers on my bios. Those are the if you even in my own personal email is abelc dot musuka musuka
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Everybody, Abel is coming around. LA is not very far. We can all head that direction and support him.
Sure.
And in that Nigerian atmosphere, let's go there and blow tumpundu and everything else. And California, Vegas people pay up for go to LA. Abel, thanks for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you guys on that side of the world.
I'm gonna tell you one thing here before we end this. We're gonna play one song before we go away.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said to you, your mom is a very phenomenal lady, and I have the special love for her. We dedicate this show to her.
Wow. No, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Tell her
I'll pass on the message.
This show to her.
I'll pass it on to her.
You'll pass it on to her. Everybody, Abel in town, check out his social media platforms and everything else there. It's very simple. Abel Chungu, you know how to search, guys, and go there. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, ZBTR TV. Let's listen to this before we go away.
Thank you.
Imperfect. Yeah. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Got me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with you. Love is a beautiful thing. Love is in everything. Even a diamond ring. Or even a coffee stain. Love makes us do crazy things. Things that'll make you cringe. The feeling of angel wings. Like you could do anything. So if you choose to see, I know you'll believe. Sitting in perfect peace, you will find perfect peace. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Caught me with those imperfect eyes. I fell in love with imperfect you. Hit me with that imperfect smile. Once I heard that imperfect laugh. Got me with those imperfect eyes.
Do you want to promote your business on Zander Broad Talk Radio? Yes, that's right. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio. To book your spot, just make a donation by picking from the following categories. To get started, just call or WhatsApp the number on the screen and you'll be good to go. Live on Zander Broad Talk Radio every Saturday for 1 full month. And it will stay on the recorded shows.
Zambia Blog Talk Radio.